Today I have the Nezumi Studios Aviera GMT version 3, I believe, and there are quite a few upgrades since I reviewed the original back in 2023. The biggest change is the movement, as now it uses the Miyota 97.5 instead of the Seiko NH34. There's a few other improvements as well, and it's currently available in 3 different colorways. This steel with black dial, a full lume cream dial, and a black DLC with green accents. All come with a wide range of strap choices, and I had them send along this yellow FKM rubber and the Colin 2.2 bracelet. Now, some may say, at least in this configuration, it's a vintage Omega Seamaster meets Rolex Explorer 2, which is true, but I do think it looks great, and the new limited color models allow for a more unique look. Pricing starts at $673, and I'll talk about all the upgrades and what I love and what I don't, all in this review, so let's get to it. I like a lot about this latest version of the Nezumi Aviera GMT, and there are quite a few changes, more than I initially thought. But let's go ahead and put all the specs on screen, and I think now is as good a time as any to talk about pricing, specifically price increases. The NH34 model I reviewed 2 years ago started at $335, and if you added the bracelet, you were looking at $410. Now the cheapest way into this Aviera is $673, and that's with one of the rubber straps. That's an increase of $263 if you don't want to do the math. So the question that needs to be answered, I guess, is it worth the price increase? Now, at this point, especially in the USA, we are all aware of what is going on with inflation, tariffs, customs fees, import fees, etc. And then, of course, add the upgrades and changes to this Aviera, and I would say it's right in line with its competition, if not still less expensive than some others. Now, the biggest upgrade, as I said, is the change from the NH34 to the Miyota 97.5 GMT movement. I've reviewed a lot of these Traveler GMT movements, as they are often referred to, and one thing I like about this Aviera is that Nezumi removed the date. Now, I know many like a date function, and I did complain about the date removal on the previous Aviera model, so let me explain. It keeps this dial very symmetrical, and it eliminates one of the issues I have with this movement, which is that it doesn't allow for a quick set date, as that first click on the screw down crown is for that jumping hour hand. Now, I don't know if Nezumi did it for that reason, or they just felt it was a cleaner dial without the date, but either way, I'm glad they did. Apart from the dial color, as I reviewed a really unique blue last time, everything about the dial stays the same except for at the very bottom of the dial where it says self-winding. Most of the time you can't even see this because of how small the writing is and the way the vintage domed sapphire distorts the edges of the dial. Otherwise, it's still a matte dial, very easy to read, and I really like the yellowish orange accents. Now, speaking of the crystal, the height of that crystal has increased a little from 1.5 millimeters to 1.95, but the height of the case has been decreased a little, and now the overall profile is 13.3 millimeters. It's not much, but it's a slightly slimmer profile. Another change to the case, which I did not initially realize, is that the case width is still 40 millimeters, but the bezel has been reduced to 39, giving it a slightly more tapered look. Now, it feels the same on the wrist to me, and I really did not notice that the bezel diameter was smaller, as the watch doesn't feel small to read or on my wrist while I'm wearing it. Now, something I really love about this case is that there's not one speck of high polish anywhere on this watch. There are clean lines and even chamfered lines, and of course this is a lyre or twisted lug style case, but not one area of this watch, the case back, the crown, or the bracelet is high polished, and I absolutely love it. Because of the machining and this case design, it still has a little shimmer in the light, but it's much more muted than might expect from a watch like this. Another change, which some will consider a big change, happens to the bezel markings. It's still a fixed bezel, but the original model had an issue where the numbers on the bezel were upside down. And since the bezel didn't rotate, it hindered how you would use the 24-hour bezel. I mean, it was still usable, but now the bezel numbers are right side up, as they should be. The bracelet has had some moderate changes as well, with a new clasp and possibly some alteration to the end links. It's been upgraded to the toolless micro adjustment clasp, which is always nice to see, and it has an embossed Nezumi logo shield, which I really love over a simple engraving. Now, concerning the end links, I know last time I mentioned how they sat inside the lugs and that they were not perfectly curved inside. It's still somewhat straight, but at least to my eyes, it appears there is less of a gap and that they fit better, and my eye isn't drawn to this area as it was on the original model I reviewed. I had a few other issues with the bracelet last time as well, one of them being the quick release pins breaking on me almost immediately. Now this one still has quick release pins, but so far I've not had an issue, so maybe I'm just lucky this time around, they've been upgraded, or I was very unlucky last time. The bracelet still uses friction pins to hold the links together. I would have preferred screws, but it's still easy to size. But I will note one thing, I find the top and bottom edge of this bracelet to be a little bit sharp. The FKM rubber is fantastic though, same look and pattern as the original. It fits well on my 7.5 inch or 19.05 centimeter wrist, and I love the color as it's more of a taxi cab yellow as opposed to a lemon yellow. The Lume looks to be slightly improved as well. Everything has a BGW9 blue glow except for that GMT hand, which glows a pale greenish yellow. And while I like the color contrast, the GMT hand Lume is pretty weak. So, in 2025, is this Nezumi Aviera GMT worth a starting price of $673? I definitely think so. While 2023 was only 2 years ago, we all know a lot can and did change in 2 years, and this is also not the exact same watch with just a different movement. The movement is a nice upgrade, of course, but the bezel dimensions and markings have been altered, the bracelet and clasp upgraded, and there are two new colors as well. Looking back at the strap choices though, I wish I chose this green canvas with leather backing, as man does that look great. What would be your strap choice for this Nezumi Aviera GMT? Let me know down in the comments as well as any other thoughts or questions you might have. A link to the written article as well as the Nezumi website is down in the description. That's all for this one. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time.